Welcome, everybody. Today is November 21st, 2023, Thanksgiving week, of course. Welcome to our regular board meeting. With that, why don't we stand for the pledge so we can get everything started? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All right, the mission statement, the mission of the school district of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students.
Recording in progress.
As Here we go. There you go. Sorry about that. As learners and citizens who are high achieving, resilient and responsible in a changing global community. Ms. Green, the roll call, please.
Mr. Needleman.
Here.
Mr. DeFranco.
Here.
Dr. Etlin.
Here.
Mrs. Green.
Here.
Mrs. Hubley.
Here.
Mrs. Hughes. Dr. Taratuski.
Here.
Mr. Bedard.
Here.
Mrs. Sarsfield.
All right, thank you. A quick announcement before we turn to our first report. The board at its discretion may videotape all or any portion of public board meetings subject to the limitations set forth in policy 006. Board meetings will be broadcast the following Friday afternoon of the board meeting. And with that, I'll welcome for our EEHSP STHSP report. Christia, please come up.
Here. Our current fundraiser that
Double check the microphone. Apologies. There's
how
like
do I do that?
Good.
Is that okay? Oh, there we go. Our current fundraiser that we have running, we have brought back our Square One Art, which is a very sweet fundraiser where families can have their children create art and then create one-of-a-kind gifts and keepsakes, mugs, bags. And it was always run the past few years. It kind of stopped over COVID. So we are running that through December 1st, and we're trying to remind everybody, and anybody is welcome in the community to use our fundraisers. So if you're looking for a one-of-a-kind gift before December 1st, go to our website, eehsp.org, and you can find out all the details on how to do that. Next, we have created a new direct donation fund that we wanted to share that's going to support our school's social workers specifically. So it's a fund within our organization. It's called the Spartans Care Fund. And it's going to be funds that are directly earmarked to go towards our social workers. We always budget an amount for them every year that goes to support school supplies and field trips, and they actually help our families with gift cards at times for living needs. So we really wanted to find a way. We had feedback in the community of donations that would go specifically to that cause. So we created this new fund, and our first campaign though is going to be in conjunction with the social workers holiday kindness campaign, where they every year solicit donations or gift cards from our community. So we're helping them with that, and that will be launching. We're going to officially launch it on Giving Tuesday, which is this coming Tuesday after Thanksgiving. But I know the social workers at the elementary schools are ready to roll this out soon. So it may even come out sooner in other communications. I'm not sure, but from our standpoint, we're going to start promoting this starting next week. And then we are calling all basketball fans. We are bringing back the Harlem Wizards. This was a fundraiser that took place for several years as well. And we are looking for staff from any of the schools to play on the staff team. They'll play against the Wizards. So we will be soliciting for those and building our team very soon. If you're very interested, you can reach out to us on our website. And that's going to be on February 24th at the high school gym. And then lastly, we are really busy with our grade level leads this year. We know there's been a lot of feedback in the community about just doing more, again, from a community building standpoint within our grades. And so that also took a hiatus during the COVID years. And so we've brought back our grade level leads. So they're busy planning our events for each grade, just so that they can get to know each other more from a community aspect. And those will be taking place throughout the year this year. And then for any other information, our new website is up and running and it looks great. And Karen behind me is our communications director, and Ashleen is one of our VPs of grades who's been working with our grade level leads this year. So visit eehsp.org for all of our events. Thank you. Oh,
Thank you so much.
Questions or?
No,
All right. Thank you.
thank you very much. And now for our MPA report, we'll turn to Dr. Angela Tawfiq.
See Dr. Tawfiq here.
I don't see Dr. Tawfiq either. Okay, we'll come back as we can. We'll turn then to our student representative for a report on schools. Ms. Kennedy?
At Enfield, so much excitement has been occurring, and they have been grateful for all their visitors this month. At the end of October, Mrs. Cohen and her Spanish class from the high school visited the second graders. They taught the classes about Dia de los Muertos and read some stories that the high schoolers created themselves. Enfield celebrated National Kindness Day by dedicating a full week to kindness. The week of November 6th, each day classes completed kindness activities. Also, each classroom created a flower that highlights the different ways to show kindness. The flowers are displayed in the main lobby for all to see their projects. Mrs. Royal organized a collection for their military troops. Enfield students made holiday cards, and they are being sent to soldiers across the world to send the holiday joy with them. November 10th through the 17th, Enfield opened its doors for American Education Week to allow families to catch a glimpse of the wonderful education experiences that occur at Enfield. At Erdenheim, the results of the health screenings for the students at Erdenheim have been updated to the health portal. Screenings for growth and eyesight were given to students in grades 3, 4, and 5. Third grader students additionally underwent a hearing examination. The third graders are eager to play recorders soon after receiving their orders and have begun to learn more about them. Families had the opportunity to participate in talks and demonstrations about how educational technology is incorporated into the curriculum. The Springfield Township School District is pleased to have a 3-year equity action plan that aims to improve student belonging in both of the communities and our facilities. Place an order for selection of things personalized with a piece of your child's artwork to help fall fundraising. Ideal for giving as Christmas gifts. Closes on December 1st. At the middle school on Thursday, November 9th in the afternoon, the middle school quarterly invited guests to their annual Veterans Day celebration and free luncheon. They held an assembly in the gym as a follow-up. They learned the age-old craft of challah making and the key to creating challah that tastes fantastic on Monday, November 6th at 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at Erdenheim Elementary. Together, they prepared the dough as it increases. ADL, headed Andrew Boritsky, led them into a conversation in which they encouraged one another through this horrifying and depressing period. They braided the dough after the conversation, carried it home, and shared it with their loved ones. And they also had career day on Friday. At the high school, 13 new members of the Tri-M Music Honor Society were inducted by Tri-M at the high school. These students are the epitome of leadership skills, commitment, community, and enthusiasm and service. They joined the 15 returning Tri-M members in representing our music department, both within and outside of our institution. Best wishes to the recently inducted members. Additionally, congrats to Mary Kate, a senior who has made it into the PMEA District 11 choir this year through auditions. She outperformed the opposition and will be representing Springfield along with 160 other children from Bucks and Montgomery counties at the District 11 Choir Festival in January. Springfield Township High School sponsored the annual PA Youth and Government Eastern Elections Convention on Saturday, November 11th. At the yearly 4-day model convention in Harrisburg in April of 2024. All the youth and government delegates from the eastern portion of the state will be gathered for the day of elections and campaigning for statewide offices. What the state YMCA organizers referred to as the largest convention in memory saw over 400 students from 13 delegations converge on Springfield. Springfield featured 4 candidates vying for office along with 42 student delegates. Helen Lutz and Isaac Darga were among them. Finally, on November 18th, our Spartan boys soccer team faced the Cathedral Prep Ramblers in the PIAA 3A state championship. The boys displayed Spartan pride and played a great game. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Now for our Academic Affairs Committee report, Dr. Atla.
Good evening. The Academic Affairs Committee met on October 24th at 5 p.m. In attendance were Ms. Carla Green, Ms. Amy Hubley, Dr. Mary Jo Nianacone, Dr. Damian Johnston, Olivia Tall, our student representative, as well as Ronan Kalina, another student representative. In addition, Dr. Chuck Rittenhouse, Dr. Zach Fuller, Mr. Ben Spiker, and Dr. Megan Markle. Dr. Damian Johnson shared a presentation on the district's academic performance based on the PSSA and Keystone assessment. The data was assessed to provide a systemic way to examine effectiveness in curriculum and instruction, examine data across the district by building and by grade, and department examining relevant patterns and trends. Also shared PSSA and Keystone performance for percentage of students scoring proficient or advanced over a 5-year testing period in English, language arts, math, and science. The 2023 test performance was disaggregated and reviewed by the instructional leadership team by gender, race, socioeconomic status, special education eligibility, and those who are multilingual learners. The data was compared to district goals and action steps for analyzing disaggregated student performance. From this data, the focus is on students who experience social and/or economic disadvantages as they constitute at least 23% of our student body and reflect a wide and diverse group of students and families. During the meeting, each building principal participated and shared a building report which reviewed the strengths and areas of growth and plans for the coming year regarding student achievement and areas of focus for improvement. Moving forward, progress toward these goals were reported in the winter. This comprehensive report can be found on the website under the Academic Affairs link in board documents. The meeting, there were no public comments. The meeting was adjourned around 6 p.m. and the next Academic Affairs meeting date is tentatively scheduled for sometime in December. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Allen. Does anybody have any questions about Dr. Allen's report or Ms. Kennedy's report? I forgot to ask before. No? All right. Moving on then, our Finance Committee report. Back up. Please.
Thank you. Finance Committee met on Tuesday, November 14th at 8 a.m. In attendance was myself, Dr. Taratusky, Mr. Needleman. From the administration, we had Dr. Yannicone, Ms. Green, and Ms. Jenko. Also in attendance was Mr. Ron Mininger, CPA with Bars, Gowie, Ammon, Foltz. Our first topic was the 2022-2023 audit presentation. The financial statements and the audit results were presented by Mr. Mininger. The district received an unmodified or clean opinion on the audit. The district projected an approximately $1.5 million use of fund balance compared with the actual usage of $1.1 million. It was noted that the increase in 2022-2023 expenditures can be attributed to the recognition of special losses from Carson Valley for the 2022 all the way through 2023 school years, as well as cleanup of balances on various balance sheet accounts carried over from previous years. There will be a motion to accept the 2022-2023 audit at the December 5th board meeting. Next, we reviewed the 2024-2025 budget update. This included our guiding principles, funding sources, expenditures, and impact of the expiring ESSER funds. Local revenues makes up approximately 80% of total revenue and is comprised of real estate and earned income taxes. State revenues make up approximately 19% and include state subsidies and reimbursements. Federal revenue is around 1%. Salaries and benefits make up 72% of expenditures, followed by debt service at 13% and building and departmental budgets of around 11.5%. The ESSER funds will expire at the end of September, and the following items will be absorbed into the 2024-2025 budget. Intervention instructional support staff will be absorbed into the staffing budget. The continuation of our cybersecurity plan will be absorbed into the technology budget. Mental health resources and student support will be absorbed into the student support services and staffing budget. And social emotional learning resources will be absorbed into the curriculum and building budgets. Next, we discussed a property tax rebate program proposal. The existing PA property tax rent rebate program provides a maximum rebate of $650 to qualifying individuals. Locally funded property tax rebate programs have been implemented by other school districts in the county and mirror the state's program, the state program's eligibility qualifications. Rebate amounts are determined by each district and range from 50 to 100% of the state rebate. The recommendation was made to mirror the state rebate program and implement it for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Residents would need to be approved for state rebate to be eligible for our district's program. Next was the accelerated budget opt-out resolution and a review of the budget timeline. The recommendation was made for the approval of the accelerated budget opt-out resolution, which certifies that the school board will not increase property taxes above the Act 1 index of 5.3%. This is on our agenda for tonight's meeting. I'm not going to review the entire schedule for next year because I did that at the last meeting. You can always look at the detailed minutes, but there is a deadline for the department and building budgets, February 9th. And then from February through March, we'll have various finance committee meetings. The proposed budget will be voted on in May and the final budget in June. Moving next to the middle school renovations and addition project with a discussion of the borrowing plan and budget. Current project budget is $31.5 million, which will mainly be funded by three $10 million bank qualified borrowings for a total of $30 million over the next 3 years. The design team update is expected at the December 2023. Got a bad date in there. At the December property committee meeting, I have a good date in there. I'm just looking at it wrong. In the upcoming property committee meeting in December, a public presentation of draft plans is expected at a January 2024 meeting. Finally, we discussed the high school board replacement. Two options were presented to replace the current high school outdoor scoreboard, which is in poor working condition, even after many exhaustive repair attempts. Option 2 was recommended. This includes a larger video screen with better image quality for an additional cost of approximately $20,000. Total cost is $207,707, which would be funded from the Capital Reserve Fund. It was noted that the scoreboard has an anticipated 10 to 15 year useful life and can be used for events outside of athletics, including the graduation. Future committee dates, If you go back and look at the dates laid out previously that were very specific, we did list a specific February date for Finance Committee, but I think that might be, I don't want to promise a date since we're doing committee reorganizations and I don't want to commit to anything. But there will likely be a Finance Committee meeting in February. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks so much. Before we move on, I do just want to make a quick comment for members of the public. The school board meeting that we have tonight, our regular and interim meetings are really business meetings to conduct the business of the board. The committee meetings are really where the magic happens. I'm kidding, of course. That's where all the meat and potatoes of what we do really takes place. So if any members of the public want to get involved in any of our topics, please attend those meetings. They're by Zoom mostly, if not always. So they're easy enough to attend and our participation is encouraged. As you can see, we know when there are members of the public at these committee meetings. So there endeth my public service announcement. I'll turn things over to Dr. Yannicone for our superintendent report.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have a few news and happenings to add to what Nia already provided. On November 8th, I sent out a newsletter to the community, and I'm happy to report that it was reviewed just under 1,400 times in the first week to 10 days, and the average reading time was 10 minutes. So I was glad to know in our analytics that people, I know parents are like, wait a minute, she checks and sees. I'm not looking at each individual reader, just so you know, there's no homework check. But I was glad to know that people are taking a little bit of time with it. The most popular link was the middle school project slides. We had over 160 readers of those slides or reviewers of those slides. So I'm glad to know there's a lot of interest in the project. The second highest link was our new school profile, with 30 readers selecting that. And I wanted the board, so I'll pass these out. There's a digital version of our new profile, but there's also these cute little mini versions of our profile. So I thought you might like to have a copy. For those who don't know in the community, the high school profile is the document that accompanies students' transcripts and application packets to post-secondary programs. It is the way in which we promote our vision and mission and values as a district and the accomplishments of our students. And so I'm very happy to have put together a brand new profile this year in our ongoing mission to raise the status of the district. In addition, I wanted to share that our administrative team has been engaged in multiple efforts to connect with families and students this month. We've held a number of parent meetings. Dr. Dennis and Mrs. Schrage focused on inclusive practices in a meeting with a number of our parents of students with special needs. Mr. Lutz, our building principals, and Dr. Johnston focused on meetings regarding technology integration with a number of our families, K through 12. And last week, we were thrilled to have our largest parent attendance at Be a Part of the Conversation workshop. We had 30 families join us for a session focused on the risks of alcohol use in teenagers and how to minimize those risks. Over the last 3 years, for sure, that is the highest attendance we've had by parents at a public meeting, and we were really glad to see that. In addition, we've surveyed with families and students twice this month, the first on sense of belonging and communication, and the second on academic readiness and technology integration. So we've gotten some terrific feedback from our families, from students, and we're poring over that data now as an administrative team. We've also held monthly meetings of our affinity groups, as well as our superintendent's advisory, and that's given us some great information as well. We want to really send our thanks and appreciation to all of our families and students who have participated in those surveys. We know it can be a hassle when you get these surveys and you have so much else going on in your lives, but we want to assure the public that we are reading your feedback and utilizing that in our discussions as an administrative team on next steps. Also want to share that we have an area of growing national concern in cyber safety and social media. And this week, we had our Director of Technology, Mr. Lutz, provide presentations to all of our middle school students on this important topic of cyber safety and social media safety, and how to be a good digital citizen. And our high school presentations will occur in early December. They're being connected to our No Place for Hate activities. And so that'll be a school-wide program that includes some student activity that'll allow them to reflect on the ways in which they're utilizing social media next month. And then in January, we have a parent presentation scheduled. So we're excited for that and hopeful that perhaps we'll break that record of 30 families from this month's be a part of the conversation. I know that Dr. Tawfiq was unable to be here this evening, but I did want to encourage families to join the Multicultural Parents Association meeting on December 13th. We will be including, the administrative team will be providing a preview of our Equity Action Plan Year 2 goals achievement before our public meeting on January 16th here at the board meeting. And so, as you know, in our Equity Action Plan and our equity policy, on an annual basis, we provide an update to the board. That'll occur on January 16th. And we'll also provide a preview of our Year 3 goals and action plan. Our Year 3, believe it or not, will be the third and final year of this Equity Action Plan. We'll be doing an internal and an external audit. It's come around that quickly this time next year in order to prepare for our next EAP, which will be 2025 through 2028. I also want to echo something Nia said in her report. Our varsity boys soccer team is the only team in the state to make it to the state final 2 years in a row. They're a fantastic group of young men led by a wonderful coaching staff. And it was exciting to see them work through the state playoffs this year. We're really proud of them. And I also want to congratulate Ella Walsh. Ella is a current junior who made it to states and cross country for the third year in a row. And so that's quite an accomplishment as well. So we're real proud of Ella. In the board motions, Neil already mentioned the opt-out resolution, which we're looking forward to helping us to continue in our budget planning for next year. And we also have the Eastern Center budget adoption. And so annually, you all approve our budget as a district for Eastern. Our budget allocation has actually gone up, and that sounds like it's not a good thing, but it is a good thing. It's because more of our students are availing themselves of the fantastic programs at Eastern. And about 60% of our students who attend Eastern also go on to four-year universities. So we're really happy with the programs that Eastern is providing. They've done a phenomenal job in moving forward in their programming, renovating their facilities. And there's a wait list across the Eastern County. There's a wait list of over 200 students trying to get into Eastern Technical School. And so just wonderful programs there. We're happy to be able to support them and hope you'll support that budget adoption. Neil also mentioned the scoreboard. I do want to share an update since the Finance Committee meeting. We've met with the Township representatives, and you may notice driving along Paper Mill Road that there are 2x4s attached to the current scoreboard that create a frame. And that frame is to help the Township commissioners to see the proposed size of the new scoreboard. And so we'll take those down in about a week, but we wanted to give our Township commissioners an opportunity to take a look at what is the scope and height of the proposed board. It is a larger scoreboard because this is, as you mentioned, a 10 to 15 year financial commitment. And we believe that the new boards, which are digital in nature, are going to provide us a lot of enhanced flexibility and functionality. And so we want to be able to provide that to our community and to our students. But we also know that the Township needs to take a look at whether or not we'll need a variance to make that size work. So we're looking forward to hearing from the Township. And that's why you have a not to exceed in the motion, because if we need to minimize the size of the board at the direction of the Township, we'll utilize some alternatives that we have. But that is the current recommended size of the board. Okay, and in the front, there will be digital signage, but in the back, it will just be a solid black board. And we've also spoken to the Township about perhaps providing some foliage to hide that, to make the drive along Paper Mill more pleasing to people who are going along Paper Mill. All right. And then there is another board motion that is a not to exceed on a middle school chairlift. And that was a late entry because we have been working with several vendors. Our middle school chairlift was installed in 1993, and it accesses the STEM and art classrooms, as well as several of our other special area programs. And the chairlift has had 5 repairs since August 31st. It has reached the end of its usable life, and we have a quote on a new lift that will allow us to move into the 21st century. We did look at a ramp feasibility, but the structure of that wing does not allow enough headspace for a ramp installation. And so we are going with a chairlift. And we believe that there are 2 lifts that we were looking at based on the weight of a potential wheelchair. And we have a good plan in place, but wanted to put that motion on today so that we could have that lift in after the holiday break in early January. That's our goal, that we would get that in here soon. Okay. And then finally, in my report before our spotlight, I wanted to recognize our 2 outgoing board members. I want to thank Kat again, and Dr. Johnson has some recognition for the 2 of you. I wanted to thank Kat for coming back to the board and helping us out this fall as we moved for a replacement for Gretchen Slipinski. It's been wonderful to see you again and have you with us. Dr. Johnson has a little thank you for you. And I also wanted to thank Dr. Etlin, who has been with us for the last few years and just done an amazing job as the head of our academic affairs committee and a wonderful resource for us in the community. And Dr. Johnson has a little thank you for you as well. Thank you. So thanks to both of our
Thank you.
outgoing board members. The volunteer job doesn't have a lot of kudos, but thank you to both of you. And finally, I've got our middle school spotlight. Dr. Fuller is here to share some information with us about Middle School Career Day. As you all know, the state has released career standards in the last few years. We've worked hard as a team to make sure that we're meeting those standards. And Dr. Fuller and his team have really bitten off a lot this year and had a really successful day last Friday. It was fun to go and visit.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Dr. Fuller, I'll pull up the slides.
Great.
Give me just a moment. And,
Well,
get your slides ready to
The
go.
first slide is just a title slide, but thanks so much for having me here and for inviting me to talk about Career Day. It's a new thing that we started at the middle school this year. And it's sort of born out of a couple of different initiatives and some feedback that we've gotten from our community, from our parents, and also some mandates that we've gotten from the state about what we need to accomplish in grades 6 through 8. So if you want to flip the slide, on Friday, we had 39 of our parents come in. We were limited only by space, the number of presentation spaces at the middle school. We had almost 50 parents volunteer to come in and share their time and their talents with us, and most importantly, our students. And, meaningful parent engagement is tricky at the middle level, right? At the elementary school, right, we have our elementary HSP and we have our students coming in and our parents coming in, and they work in the classrooms and their kids want them there. And then by the time students are in high school, they are specializing, and that provides other opportunities for parents to become involved in booster groups and theater parents and sports parents. At the middle school, it becomes tricky because the kids don't necessarily want their parents. You all know this. You all had middle school students, almost all of you. They don't necessarily want their parents to be coming into school. And so we thought about how can we create opportunities that are meaningful for kids and engaging for families at the middle school. And so we can flip the slide again. And then we also thought about our Act 339 compliance, which is our college and career readiness standards that come to us from the state of Pennsylvania. They're in 4 categories, which are career awareness and preparation, career acquisition, career retention and advancement, and entrepreneurship, which certainly were all covered on Career Day on Friday. So we thought about those 2 things. And what we were really trying to do at first was provoke a conversation between students and their parents, or students and a meaningful adult in their lives. And we were trying to get students to go home with this little slip of paper and give it to someone, anyone, an adult they know with a cool job, right? And say to them, come in and speak at Career Day. That was marginally successful because our students, again, were kind of fighting this impulse, but we did have some students come to us. One presenter told me on Friday, my student was so proud to be handing me this piece of paper and asking me to come in. She gave it to me on the very first day and said, you gotta come do this. So I know that at least one meaningful conversation happened between a child and an adult as a result of this day. When we were getting limited returns on those pieces of paper, we did send an appeal directly to parents with a link to a Google form. And that's really when we got the majority of our parents saying, oh yeah, definitely, I'll come in. I'd love to help you out. I'd love to share what I do. And so if you flip the slide, you can see, hopefully you can read it, maybe you can read it up there, a list of all of the people who came in. And one of the things that's really impressive about this list and also about the picture from the beginning of the slide is just the varied careers that are represented here, I think, right? We didn't have to do anything really to vary this list. This is pretty much a sampling of what we got. We got, I don't know, I want to say maybe 48 volunteers. So we had to sort of winnow down who could make it and where there were doubles and those kinds of things. But we really did have this kind of variety. We didn't have to go recruiting people to come in to our career day. They were volunteering to come in. And so each one of these people volunteered to come in. They got guidelines for presentations from us that sort of followed that Act 339 style, right? Along with like some other useful tips about presenting to middle schoolers, like bring uniforms, if possible, bring food, right? Bring things for them to like hold and touch and manipulate so that, and do so that they're not gonna, they don't get bored. But we also asked them to talk about, how did you get into this line of work, right? Career acquisition. Are you your own boss? Is this an entrepreneurial situation, right? How do you keep your job? How do you move up in your field? How many jobs did you have before this? One of the people that presented for us was a conversion specialist who took gasoline-powered cars and old Tesla engines from scrap Teslas and converted cars into electric cars, old gas cars into electric cars. He was able to stand there and say, I went to school for nanotechnology. I didn't like nanotechnology, so I became a college professor of robotics. I got out of that, and my friend was, doing some mechanic work, and I did that on the side, and I thought, I can install these engines. So he kind of took us through this litany of all of the things that he did to get to where he is, which I think is really eye-opening for a 12, 13, 14-year-old. Flip for us. I put some of the highlights up here, some pictures of some of our presenters. This is a forensic anthropologist who came to speak to our kids. She was the curator of the Mutter Museum for a time downtown, and then also a consultant on the TV show Bones. And so she took our students through how do we determine the characteristics of a person by just their skeleton. So they were able to group around this table and talk about, what do we know about this person from their bones? Good slide. This is the very popular robot dog that came in. This is a robot drone security dog that one of the robotics engineer brought in. It was walking up and down the hallway. It was moving incidentally. It looked alive. It looked almost like it was breathing. And then when it was time to go to the presentation, the guy said, come on. And it went right up the stairs and followed him to the presentation, just like my dog does at home. So the kids were really, really amazed by it. And flip the slide. This is Lauren Camper, who many of you know. She's presented here before, but we did not know that she was a fraud investigator for her company. And so hers was fascinating to the kids, not only because she brought airheads for them and passed them out when they participated, but also because she was she's a fraud investigator and she gave them case studies. She talked to them about what is ethical behavior, right? And sort of walk the kids through these case studies. It was pretty fascinating to watch. Flip the slide. This is right here in this room. It's kind of weird to be looking at it on camera. This is our 6 ABC news anchor who came in to talk to our students and kept it very, very informal. And it was a great presentation and talked about what does journalism mean? What does journalism look like? What does it mean to look for the truth and report on the truth? We had a physical therapist come in who took students through the paces of some of the physical therapy exercises that she does with her patients. Flip the slide again. We had a steam fitter from Steam Fitters Local 420 Philadelphia come in and talk about not only what he does for a living, and which is weld for the Steam Fitters Union, but also talk about what does it mean to be a part of a union and what do unions do for their members. A food scientist who is very popular because she brought goldfish with her. And also gave the students an opportunity to create their own flavor blasted goldfish, right? So she brought all of the different seasonings that they use to make goldfish, and then the students got to make their unique flavor of goldfish, including I had the pizza ranch ones that someone made, which were pretty good. And then finally, I think this is the last picture I have. He's a professional bassist. Bass guitarist, and so he was here in the band room showing kids what life is like as an artist. That's just a sampling. I did make it to almost every room. I think there were 2 or 3 that I didn't quite make it to. It was every single classroom in the building where we had a professional paired with an educator doing a presentation for our kids and more. We have 36 classrooms and 39 presentations. So overall, it was a great day. There are some things I would change. I would like my teachers to see more varied presentations. They were kind of together with one adult for the entire day, which is great for relationship building, but maybe not so great for seeing what careers are out there and what we're preparing these kids for. So I think that I would vary the adults, take the adults through a rotation too, to see what's out there and to hear these presentations. And I'd probably shorten it. We had some adults who maybe aren't used to standing up in front of students on a regular basis run out of time. And so I'd probably take it from 55 minutes to about 40 minutes and maybe make another session in there somewhere. But it was a great day. We met a lot of people. I think the kids really enjoyed it and learned a lot. And that's because of our really awesome and engaged community. I've done this at other places, and it's sometimes like pulling teeth to get people to come in. Once I asked, I had more than I can handle. So thank you to the community and the presenters and the board and Dr. Gannicone for making this happen. And we really, really appreciate it. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And obviously, questions, if you have any questions. I think that the middle school team, the staff, the community, as Dr. Fuller said, really stepped up. And the students had a very interesting morning, which was wonderful, and definitely meets our goals and standards for what we would hope to see. And we talked a lot about career education and the fact that this is the ideal age to be starting to have these conversations with students before they're starting to make course selection at the high school, before they're starting to have those conversations at home, because everything else that follows is impacted by their vision for what their future might be. So I think it was a wonderful opportunity. We're really looking forward to next year. And I know you have a lot of ideas of how to make it better next year.
Yeah. We said, one of the things we said was, it's easy to check a box for the Act 339 artifacts, right? It's easy to say you're doing it. But what can we do that's meaningful, really meaningful for our kids? So this was part of the answer to that question. So thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Fuller, could I ask a question?
Yes,
Actually,
of course.
so as a person that has kids that have graduated, I mean, I see this is a fantastic opportunity to then use these resources to then try to do some sort of internships, perhaps in the high school, kind of utilizing the counselors and kind of informing them of, because we have such a rich resource here in this township of amazing people, that maybe we could kind of use this and cultivate it a little bit more, or maybe some good resources for the high school.
I think it's a fantastic idea. In fact, we've talked about the senior experience and how can we develop that connection so that students who want an opportunity to learn from one career or another can make that connection, because we've adjusted the graduation requirements at the high school to allow students to have those experiences in younger grades and to be able to earn credit for it so that they're not worried about their, filling all their requirements. And we've got a wealth of resources in the community's talent pool. So I think it's a great point to make. Absolutely.
Thanks again, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. Safe driving home.
All right, very good. Thank you, Dr. Yannick.
Thank you.
At this time, we will take public comment on agenda items. I want to remind everybody, thank you again. We're gonna limit comments to 3 minutes apiece, and I'm just gonna ask everybody to identify where you live in the township. I don't see anyone having signed up in person. I don't see any hands raised online either. I'll give it another 30 seconds or so, and then we can move on to our agenda items. All right, very good. So our
Confirming
first
no hands
order
on.
of, I'm sorry?
That was
I
Jeff.
was just confirming no hands online.
Oh. Well, now you have to make a comment. No, I'm just kidding, of course. Our first item of business is approval of minutes from our October 3rd, 2023 interim meeting. The Board of School Directors approves the board minutes from October 3rd, 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I skipped the motions and I skipped any questions as well. Are there, first, let me ask, are there any questions or comments with respect to the minutes from our previous meeting? All right. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Dr. Yannick. And do I have a second? Thank you, Dr. Frank. Second, very good. All those in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? All right, very good. Next up is our approval of minutes from our October 17th, 2023 regular hybrid board meeting. Are there any comments or questions with respect to this item of business? All right. Do I have a motion? Very good. Thank you. And a second. All right. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Very good. Next up is our approval of the treasurer's report for the month ended October 31, 2023. Specifically, the Board of School Directors approves the October 31, 2023 treasurer's report. Any comments or questions? All right. Do I have a motion? I'm sorry, Dr. Yannick?
No. I was just gonna suggest maybe start with the motion and then ask for comments or questions.
Very good. Okay. Are there, no, I don't remember where we started. Are there any comments or questions with respect to this item of business? All right. Do I have a motion? And do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. Is that 4 or 3? I'm not sure. Anyway, all those in favor say aye. All
Aye.
right, very good. Any opposed? Very good. Next up is personnel and HR contracts. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: administrative personnel, confidential personnel, professional personnel, support personnel, temporary personnel, extra pay for extra responsibilities, 2023 to 2024, and conference workshop attendance. Are there any comments or questions with respect to this item of business? All right. Do I have a motion? And I believe I heard a second, but I'm going to ask formally anyway. All right, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. Next up is in academic affairs, our overnight trip for the high school boys baseball team. The Board of School Directors approves an overnight trip to Fort Pierce, Florida for the high school boys baseball team from March 22nd to March 27th, 2024 for individual skill development, team building, and scrimmage opportunities. Are there any comments or questions regarding this item of business? All right, very good. Do I have a motion? And a second. All right, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, pass. Next up is our student settlement agreement. The Board of School Directors approves the student settlement agreement for student 2023-1121-01. Are there any comments or questions regarding this agreement? No? Do I have a motion? And a second? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that will pass. Next up, under finance is our accelerated budget opt-out resolution.
Number 3,
Oh, I completely, thank you for that. I completely missed it. I went too far too fast. Next up is our second student settlement agreement. The Board of School Directors approves the student settlement agreement for student 2023-1121-02. Are there any comments or questions on this item of business? No? Do I have a motion? And a second.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. Now for our accelerated opt-out resolution, Dr. Yannicone, thank you for that. The Board of School Directors approves the accelerated budget opt-out resolution certifying the tax rate with the inflation index of 5.3% for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Are there any comments or questions with respect to this?
I do have a comment.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Bedard. Excuse me. Too many doctors.
I know, I love the promotion. Thank you. I think it's technically correct the way that this motion is written. However, I just want to clarify what we're actually voting on here is not a tax increase of 5.3%, but what we're voting on is that we certify that we are confident that the administration will balance the budget of 24-25 without a tax increase to exceed the inflation index of 5.3%. And therefore, we will, the guidance that we've been given to the administration has come in below that index. But the way it's written could be confusing to the public. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. And maybe Dr. Yannicone, you could restate that for clarity.
Yes, I can clarify that the motion is written correctly. But it is our intention, as it has been in the last few years, to come under index and to enter into discussions with the board in February and March as to how far under that index we come in.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, very good. Do I have a motion? And a second. All right, very good. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that will pass. Next up is approval of the 2024-2025 Eastern Center budget. The Board of School Directors approves the resolution for the adoption of the 2024-2025 operating budget for the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology in the amount of $12,119,774 and capital assessment of $1,050,000, of which the Springfield Township School District's portion of the secondary contribution is $794,121, and its share of the capital assessment is $103,788. Are there any comments or questions?
You had mentioned that the interest in Eastern has increased this year. So I was curious to know if you have the information, what our prior contribution was for last year. But also, does this share represent a certain number of students attending, and how many students, like spots, do we have for those students?
Yes, Ms. Green may be able to pull up last year's budget for Eastern. I think she's in the process of doing that right now. The way it works is that along with the rest of the school districts who send students to Eastern, we each pay a percentage of the budget for Eastern based on our percentage enrollment relative to the whole.
Okay.
So for example, a larger neighboring district would pay a higher percentage if their enrollment were higher. Our enrollment fluctuates between mid-50s and mid-70s from year to year. Some of that is based on our ability to get students into programs of high demand. For example, there is a significant regional demand for welders. And so the welding program at not only Eastern Technical School, but Central Monco and Western Monco are completely at capacity. And we could run a whole nother section at Eastern with just the interest in the Eastern region for welding. And so if we have students who are interested only in welding, they
Mhm.
may not get admitted to Eastern
Mhm.
if they're out of seats.
Okay.
But we have been very fortunate in that our counseling office at the high school has advocated well for our students.
Mhm.
And just about everyone who has applied has been able to find a seat. If they're open to being flexible in one or two or three programs,
Mhm.
they're more likely to find a seat at Eastern.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Green, do you have that answer?
Sure. So last year, our contribution was $759,971.
Okay.
For our secondary contribution with our share of capital assessment at $104,650. What's being approved tonight is our secondary contribution of $794,121 with our capital assessment of $103,788.
So not that significant change. Yeah, thank you.
It might be worthwhile for me to clarify as well. So that secondary contribution is based on enrollment.
Mhm.
The capital assessment is also based on a statistical enrollment
Mhm.
breakdown, but the capital assessment is specifically for improvement of the facility at Eastern relative to materials, et cetera, which is the larger secondary contribution.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the clarity on that.
Thank you. Are there other comments or questions? Let us know. Okay, very good. Is there a motion? And a second? All right, very good. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. On to our scoreboard replacement. The Board of School Directors approves the purchase and installation of a video display scoreboard for Spartan Stadium under Sourcewell contract number 030223-NVC, not to exceed $207,777. That was a mouthful. Are there any comments or questions?
I did have a quick question. This may also be for for Ms. Green, but just if was this something that was budgeted for, and if not, what where does the money get taken away from?
Or it's not being taken away from any place, but it's coming out of capital reserve. So that is the fund that we have for these types of items that come up for capital replacements as well as our summer projects.
Great. It was important, I think, to note that also, so folks don't think it's
Unbudgeted.
yeah, an out of budget expenditure. Thank you.
Oh, indeed. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, very good. Do I have a motion? And a second? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Very good. On to our middle school lift replacement. The Board of School Directors approves the replacement of the inclined wheelchair lift at Springfield Township Middle School not to exceed $51,000. Are there any comments or questions on this? All right, very good. Do I have a motion? And a second? All right, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. On to our public comment on non-agenda items. Again, as I mentioned before, we do have a 3-minute time limit, and I'll ask anyone who wants to speak to just identify where you live in the township. I do not see anyone having signed up in person, nor do I see any hands raised for the folks who are joining us online. I'll give it another 30 seconds or so for the folks joining us online, and then I think we can call it a night. Is it a holiday week or something? What's going on? With that, I will talk about our future meeting dates and then close the meeting out. Our future meeting dates are. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm so sorry. Our next meeting is December 5th, 2023, which is Tuesday. That meeting is hybrid. Our next interim board meeting will be Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, which is also hybrid. Now, I should note this meeting is tentative given the date, but more will be forthcoming about whether that'll happen or not. And our next regular board meeting will be Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. Our future committee meeting dates, there was one today, and our future property committee, pardon me, will be on December 14, 2023. which is right now tentative, as Mr. DeFranco said. And our policy committee right now is scheduled for Friday, December 15th at 9 a.m., though that's also tentative, again, given the committee reorganization. Just want to thank everyone for attending, for putting up with my tongue twisters, and I want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving, whether you're hosting, traveling, or just enjoying the time. Most of all, to our students and community, you've earned a well-deserved break. And with that, I'll close the meeting out. Thank you.